Perek Daled. We are up to chapter 4. This chapter is a very important chapter. I want to share a bit about, we spoke about last year, we did a bit of a recap of what we studied, of what we learned here up till now. And specifically, chapter 4 is a very important chapter because we're going to be introduced to the idea of tzimtzum. Tzimtzum, what is tzimtzum? Very famous word, concept in Kabbalah.
Contraction.
The translation is contraction, correct. There are other ways also to translate the word tzimtzum. And what's interesting is that we're going to learn that there are different types of tzimtzum. And what is tzimtzum? Why is it important? So it's important for one reason, and that is, how come we are not nullified? Hashem created us. We agree on that. That's what we learned at the beginning. Perek Aleph, Perek Beis, Perek Gimel. And even in Perek Gimel, he gives an amazing parable. He says it's like you are the rays of the sun within the sun. So it means that you don't have your self-existence, your own metzius. And to think about it, this is the way that the world is created, but to think about it also in a practical level, the question is, it's not only about the purpose, but it's more technically. How does the mechanism work? Hashem creates the world, but he doesn't create it. He creates it because we know that he has to create it, but he's not showing that to us. So I'm not asking, is it fair? There was once a Fabregan of the Rabbi, that the Rabbi spoke about a parable. I think this parable is brought even before the times of the Rabbi. It's a famous parable that Hashem is playing with us hide and seek. But he's playing with us hide and seek so well that we have forgotten to search for him. If I'm not mistaken, the original story is about one of the sons, perhaps, of the Ruzhiner, or one of the other Admorim of the Chassidut. So the children, they were playing hide and seek. And one of the children, he was so good that his friends couldn't find him. And when friends cannot find him, so they go to the next game. They're not going to give him the full attention. Oh, we cannot find you. We're going to search for you for an entire year. No. And they stopped looking for him. And imagine this little kid, he found the best hiding place, and he's not getting the attention from the rest of his friends. It's a bayah. He came to his father crying. And he comes crying to his dad, he comes crying to his father, and he tells him, I hid so well, and the other kids are not looking for me anymore. So what the Rebbe said, one of the Admorim, is that is exactly what's happening with us and Hashem. Hashem hid from us, but he hid from us so well that, unfortunately, we are not looking for him anymore. Please pass the Sumeir. It's a good question. So here, we're going to speak about just the system, the way it works, that it's in such a way. There are other chapters in Tanya, and that has to do more with the first part of Tanya that we already learned, is what is the message behind that? Why does Hashem do it in such a way? Whose fault it is? Why did he decide to do it? But the Rebbe spoke about it in the Fabregan. I think the Rebbe also cried during that Fabregan. And the Rebbe said that we're not looking for Hashem anymore. You know, we're not searching for him the same. He hid so well that we're not searching.
What year was that?
Many people said that Hasidus is dead. Judaism is dead. After the Holocaust, who would have believed? Who would have believed? Yes, Yaakov Goldman, you wanted to ask? You wanted to point out something?
No. Thank you.
So the question we have today is technically, how does it work? So we learned previously about tzoref, okay? By the way, when it comes to art, so art and jewelry, the value depends on the artist or who wore those jewels. And that's a big thing. Like if you get jewels, they could be very expensive, but if they belong to a queen, at like immediately it's times 10 or times 100, because it's already symbolic. Art, so if you have the original of Picasso and think that's unbelievable. That's all the famous artists. So they usually belong in the museum. That's where most of them are. So when it comes to a tzoref, let's say a goldsmith, that he makes a special better, right? Cup for Kiddush. So he made that cup for Kiddush. He made it out of gold, silver, added diamonds, whatever it is. He passes on or he sells it. He's not linked to it directly. There's only the symbolic connection that he is the artist that made it. And by the way, that is only if he's someone special. How many Kiddush cups we have at home that we don't even know who made them? Maybe it's just, I don't know if they could make them by machine or how it works, but even ancient ones, we don't know who made them. And we don't need to, because that's already changing something. Miyesh leyesh. It existed, and it existed maybe just as a platter of silver. And the goldsmith comes, and the goldsmith makes it into a Kiddush cup. It's very nice. And you know what? If you would meet that person that made it, he'll tell you, know what? I make Kiddush cups. This brand, I made yours. So perhaps you would invite him to your Shabbos table. But I'm not sure if there would be any more of a connection. With Hashem, that's a total different story. We said that Hashem is constantly creating the world. He's always giving life and energy. He's the heart of the world. And without that, the world would not exist. And that is the finish of the Baal Shem Tov. That it's not that he created a world that is forever floating. No. That is only from something that exists. You want to change the format, the shape, the color, then you don't have to be always attached and connected. But if you want to take something, bring it to life from Nilo, before it existed, that is only with a deep connection, right? So if we'll bring a parable even from soccer, for example, from football, it's like the player that kicks the ball in, he scored the goal. Why is it not the group? Because there's someone that has to kick and strong enough to the right place in order for it to, most times, in order for it to go into the goal, because it's a Kiddush. The ball does not go there by itself. They once asked the Rabbi, are you allowed to play soccer on Shabbos? Is it okay? There's a whole deal about that. The Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah, speaks about it. Basically, if it's without running on grass and things like that, there's ways to permit it. It's not asur. So he said he doesn't understand the game of football. 22 Meshuganas running after a ball on a pitch. So the basic idea is that it's a chidush. The chidush is that a ball by itself doesn't enter the goal. There's a whole chachma. You learn about the tactics and the different tactics, and there's this strategy and that strategy, and this group's better, that group's better. So that is a chidush because it doesn't go by itself. And that's the world. That's a parable for the world. The world does not exist by itself. There's no such a thing. There's a chidush in the world, and this chidush needs the player, who is Hashem, to always give life to Kadur Haaretz, the Kadur Haaretz, the planet Earth. So back to square one, if you know the player and you recognize the player, and you say, oh, he's the one that scored the goal. So why don't we recognize Hashem every single moment? And we say, you know what, Hashem, You are the best. You're running the game. That is our question. Let's take a look inside. Perek Daled, chapter 4. I want to ask Mordechai to please read for us the first paragraph.
It's written, for a son and a shield is Hava'e Elohim. The explanation of this verse is as follows. Shield is a covering for the sun to protect the creatures so that they should be able to bear its heat. As our sages of blessed memory have said, in time to come, the Holy One, blessed be He, will take out the sun from its sheath. The wicked will be punished by it. Now, just as the covering shields, i.e., it conceals the sun, so does the name Elohim shield, i.e., conceal the name Hava'e, blessed be He.
So the Alter Rebbe starts off, it's very interesting. The Alter Rebbe says, first of all, we should know that Hashem at a certain point will be revealed. Hashem, when Moshiach will come, L'Asid Lavoi, Motzi Chama min Artika. Hashem will give us the feeling, not only feeling, we'll experience his eternal connection with us and the fact that he gives light and life every single moment to the world. So that's one step, that first of all, we should know that there will come such a point. Okay? And by the way, he adds here that the evil will be judged with the sun. Imagine someone, or let's go back to the soccer game, and we'll bring another parable from the soccer game. Okay, so there are two players in the same team, and the ball goes by them, and both of them kick the ball in. So now they're not sure who one acts as if what touched the head and then he hit it, or it could be that one kicked it directly, another one interfered, and there's a question whether it's because of the power of the person that kicked it, or it is because of the person that headed it at the end.
This happens in hockey 4 times a night in every game.
That's the
Right.
in hockey. Okay. So we'll speak about hockey. So let's say, and now sometimes, yes, there's a competition within the group itself. So, and now the only one, let's say if you don't have a camera, there's no way to look on the screen. The only ones that know really who did it is the person that kicked the ball in and the person that did not. Now, when there's no sun, when the sun's not out, so the Rishonim, they're okay. I can behave the way I want. I can act the way I want. No one is going to see me. No one's going to know the reality. I am the only one that knows what I do. That's it. So he's comfortable. But there will come a time that Hashem will bring the cameras out. And bringing the cameras out, the Alter Rebbe says here, Yotzi Chama min Artika, he'll bring the sun out, and the Rishonim, the evil people, will be judged with the sun. Doesn't mean that they're going to be burnt. They're going to be embarrassed. Imagine a player that he claims, I was the one to hit the hockey. What's it called? It's not a hockey ball.
Puck.
Puck. Okay? So he's the one, and the other person says, no, it's me, and they're fighting. And one of them's definitely a liar. So the moment that they bring the screen out, it's an embarrassment. It's not, you don't need to put him on the fire. It's not the Chabad said, everyone will see. How could you say something that is wrong? So there will come a time, this is what the Alter Rebbe tells us over here, there will come a time that the sun will be revealed, that Hashem will be recognized, Hashem will be recognized in the world. Yes, Rabbi.
Can I make a joke?
Sure.
Doesn't address the issue of tanning beds, where the rays are literally 4 inches from here.
Yeah.
Indoor tanning salons and everything for the rage of the 80s. I guess this still on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's in here, but it seems like you're bringing the sun closer to you.
So
So is the Tower of Babel.
you know what? It's a good point that you bring in, because soon we'll learn about what happens. So the Alter Rebbe starts from the ending point. The Alter Rebbe says, finally, yes, we will feel Hashem in our lives. Until that point, we don't, and now we're going to discover why. And soon we will speak about your parable, about bringing the sun closer to me, even though naturally the sun is not close enough. But we'll learn about that, yeah? About a person that wants, yeah, he wants to bring the sun close. Let's continue to the second paragraph. Tzvi, would you like to read for us?
The meaning of the name Havaya is that which brings everything into existence ex nihilo. The prefix "you" added to the stem "hey vav hey" modifies the verb, indicating that the action is present and continuous. And as Rashi comments on the verse, in this manner does Yov do Yapaseh all the days. That is the life force which flows in every instant into all things created from that which proceeds out of the mouth of God and his brain, and brings them into existence ex nihilo at every moment. For the fact that they were created during the 6 days of creation is not sufficient for the continued existence as of life.
Okay. It's interesting that he speaks about Yov, but this is something that we already spoke about, just bringing it in the name of Hashem, because, you know, everything is hinted in the name of Hashem. Yud Ke Vav Ke, we have the Yud Ke Vav Ke in ourselves. The Yud is the head, the Vav is the body, Hey, and another Hey is the legs. So Hashem Havaya is in every single part of the world, and I'm sure Rabbi Zamir Cohen will have a way to explain it according to the DNA, or that the DNA is built. I think there's an explanation. The DNA is built out of a certain number or something like that, right? That's like
amino acids.
Amino acids, what does that mean?
It's a long chain of slightly varying acids. It's a big giant chain.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's like there's a certain amount that forms that chain. And then
It's the amino acids. Yeah, that's the problem.
so there's the number of cells, or it says nothing of cells.
Number of amino acid units, and most of them don't say anything,
Mm-hmm.
but some do.
Mm-hmm. And those are the ones
the
that.
one that has the code.
Interesting. So Rabbi Zamir Cohen likes that. He likes to find the connection between the spiritual, the holy part of the world, Kedusha, Torah, Hashem, and practical science as well. So Shem Havaya is in everything. So what does the Yud mean? Shem Havaya is in every creature, in every part of the world. The Yud is the idea that it's constantly happening. Every single moment it happens. And Kaf Hayaseh Yov, when you say, I will do so, when in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, in the holy language, so when we use the Yud at the beginning of a word, we mean that it's a process that will be continuing forever. So when you say Ani Ya'aseh Kaf Hu Ya'aseh, it means he'll work on it. He'll be doing it all the time.
It's a future, remember.
It's a future, but yeah, it's not only a future, it's a future that is constantly happening. And that is the way that Hashem creates the world. The Yud Ke Vav Ke, what does Hashem's name mean? And we start off with the Yud. We don't pronounce it. I'm not going to say the pronunciation. But when we start with the Yud, what happens is this is Hashem basically saying, I am always going to give life to the world. Always. Yud. Constantly generating life. Okay.
What's the wording about the Mabul? That he created the Mabul. So what's the word? Because he's creating constantly. Is he creating constantly Mabul?
Yes. Yes, the Mabul is a fascinating story.
What is it?
What?
The Mabul.
Oh, so it's a good point. So then he creates something else.
Or he destroyed it.
I'll ask it in another way. I'll ask your question in another way. if Hashem every single moment creates the world from scratch, and this is HaMechadesh B'Tuva B'Chol Yom Tamid, this is what the Alter Rebbe says, this is what the Baal Shem Tov says, why do we grow old? Why do we grow old?
It beats the other alternative.
Sorry?
It beats the other alternative.
Right. But we all would wish to stay, as they say, forever young. Right? And Hashem is creating the world every single moment. So how do we age?
It changes, like evolution.
But Hashem is created me a minute ago. He's creating me now again. He's creating me again. He's creating me again. Every single moment.
Well, there is the chemical law. Nothing can be created. Nothing can be destroyed. Everything is transformed.
And how, you're right. And how does that align with the idea that Hashem is creating everything?
Transforming us.
So in other words, you're saying that Hashem creates, it's a simple answer. Hashem creates us in a different formation. So yesterday created me at a certain age. Today creates me a day older. Tomorrow it'll create me a day older. And so on until Ma'asrim, Bezrat Hashem, for everyone.
So why do we pass away?
We are
He's
transformed.
creating us continuously in a different stage.
Atira Torah Yaakov.
Yeah. And you said that it's also a transformation, the neshama continues forever. So it's a different format of our existence. We had a whole JLI course about it. We had the journey of the soul. And it was very interesting to learn that there still is a connection even to the body afterwards. That connection at the end of the day doesn't totally disappear because of Ches HaMesik, that the dead they will arise. But definitely that the soul continues to live forever. And there still is a connection between the soul and the world, the good deeds. When we say Mishnayos in memory of someone, when we say Kaddish in memory of someone. So definitely it has an influence. So again, Hashem is creating, and that's what it says, En Chadash Tachat HaShemesh. So how can we see innovations? All of these ideas, they were in the world in the first place, and now they're only expressed again because Hashem is bringing this revelation into the world. So platinum or lithium, right? They make the batteries for the electrical cars. What do they use? Which metal? Lithium. So that's something that they didn't use, or maybe even they didn't know about before. So where was that? Yeah, so it was down there. It was wherever it was. And at a certain point, Hashem brings a revelation. So this is the idea of the Yud that's in Shem Havaya. Let's continue now to the idea of the Tzimtzum. We're getting closer and closer. Yaakov Gold.
In the enumeration of the praises of the Holy One, blessed be He, it is written, Hagadol, Hagibor, the great and the mighty. Hagadol refers to the attribute of Chesed, as kindness, and the spreading forth of the life force into all the worlds and created things without ends or limits, so that they shall be created ex nihilo and exist to Chesed Chinam, as gratuitous kindness. And the attribute of Chesed is called Gedula, for it comes from the greatness of the Holy One, blessed be He, in His glory and essence. For God is created, is great, and His greatness is unsearchable. And therefore, He also causes life force and existence ex nihilo to issue forth for an unlimited number of worlds and creatures. For it is the nature of the beneficent to do good.
By the way, what does ex nihilo mean? I'm not from the Latin.
Mi'ayin leyesh. So from nothing to an existence. That's it. Sorry?
This gratuitous kindness.
No. Chesed, pure kindness, where there are no limits. We're going to read about it in our parsha about Avram. Avram could not say no.
What is time is that? That's the scheme.
Chesed chinam. From gratitude, we're connected to gratitude.
Okay. Not asking you to.
Chesed chinam means that it's complete kindness. Usually, most people, and this is what Midas HaChesed came to Hashem and told Hashem, from the moment Avram is in the world, I have no job. Usually, I have to influence people, not only influence people, but Midas HaChesed in a certain way generates Chesed to the world. Avram took over. He does Chesed all day. And we see, you think about it, we'll learn about, that's the beginning of the next Parsha, but it starts already in our Parsha. There's just one story that the Torah specifies. But we learn about Avram, about his Chesed, about creating a restaurant, making a restaurant, having a restaurant in the middle of the desert, and just feeding any person that wanted to come. I don't think that was from a perspective of a business perspective. Many people, he gave them free meals. They said thank you to Hashem. And not only that, but it's not, if you want to make parnasa, you don't open a restaurant in the middle of nowhere. Open that restaurant where people live. It will definitely be a bit more successful. Yes, people thank you very, very much. And it's very similar, by the way, to Batei Chabad in many cases. So in certain places, yes, people could purchase something kosher, make it, and they'll have a Shabbos meal in their Airbnb if it's in Iceland or in wherever, Mexico, wherever they are. But the idea of Bet Chabad is to go to those places and to try and make a community Shabbos meal, let's say, or whatever it is. So this comes from the point of Chesed. This comes from this nature, this attribute of pure Chesed, and with Hashem, that's with Avram. Imagine Hashem's kindness. By the way, that's how the world initially was established before the Mabul. We try and think to ourselves, how was the world before the Mabul? It was a world that Hashem, I'm not talking about the people messed it up, but Hashem created it from a point of kindness. And even before the Mabul, Hashem just wanted kindness. And the Midrash tells us, Sha'ar HaYichud the world is not going to be a bar kayam, it's not going to last much in this way. Shitef imo midat adin. Hashem basically took the attribute of din, of gevura, harshness, and out of that combination of kindness and gevura, that's how he ended up creating the world. But we said on Rosh Hashanah, we know that the creation of the world for the upcoming year depends on our Rosh Hashanah. We ask Hashem, Melocha la'olam kuro b'chvodecha. Chassidus explains that the light of Hashem goes back to its source on the night of Rosh Hashanah, and only when we blow the shofar the next day, the light of Hashem returns to the world. So what happened the first Rosh Hashanah that ever was? What happened then? Aleph Tishrei, first year of creation, 5,785 years ago. Who was there to blow the shofar? So there it says, Hashem created it as a kind gesture. It's the first time that Hashem says, you know what? That's on me. Hashem wants kindness. Hashem does kindness. And instead of Hashem, that's one of the reasons that Hashem created the world. Teva hatov lehitiv. That Hashem wants to do good and kindness to each and every one of us. And that's why he created the world, because that's the way that you could be kind. Without nivraim, without people that live in the world, who are you going to be kind to yourself? So we all probably have a question in our minds, is everything kindness? Maybe I'm experiencing something that I don't feel that is pure kindness. But it's good and it is chesed. Because Hashem is good and chesed. Sometimes we don't understand it. Sometimes we don't feel it. Sometimes it's not something that we could, that's why we're going back to Rosh Hashanah a bit. We say Shana Tova Umetuka. Why don't you just say Shana Tova? Some people say Shana Tova. Shana Tova is nice, but Tov is everything. Everything is Tov. You want it to be Metuka. You want it to be sweet. So sweet you could taste, right? You give a child a sweet, he knows what a sweet is. You cannot tell him, okay, you know what, take this, whatever, pepper. It's not sweet. So we want a Shana Tova to come.
But we read this sweet. Vadam Rami Neoram.
Okay.
I was surprised. I didn't remember. But
That's one of the reasons that Hashem changed, the amount of years and the whole relationship. That's after the Mabul became much more, structured, became much more serious. There's, by the way, there's a mimer in Tofres Samachay. I want to share it to you about Sechel, Midot, what we spoke about, what comes before. Beautiful. The Rabbi Rashab explaining in length and in depth the whole.
I found the roots.
You found it from the Maggid.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we'll learn it sometime. So that is kindness. That is the first, when you ask why did Hashem create the world or how does he create the world? This is Tov and Chesed, kindness and good that sometimes we cannot really fully understand. Let's continue the fourth paragraph.
Excuse me. Now this attribute of Chesed is the praise of the Holy One. Blessed be He alone. For no created thing can create a being out of naught and give it life. This attribute is also beyond the cognition of all creatures and their understanding. For it is not within the power of the intellect of any creature to understand and comprehend this quality and its ability to create a being out of nothing and vivify it. For creation ex nihilo is a matter which transcends the intellect of the creatures inasmuch as it stems from the divine attribute of Gedula. And the Holy One, blessed be He, and His attributes are a perfect unity, as the Holy Zohar states, He and His attributes are one, and just as it is not possible for any creature's mind to comprehend its creator, so it is impossible for him to comprehend his attributes.
Yes, sir. So here, once again, the point that the Alter Rebbe is trying to tell us is that we gave a few words to try and explain the greatness of Hashem. And personally, each and everyone can think to himself, where did Hashem do kindness to me? And you can definitely find in certain places, in certain areas in life. And the Alter Rebbe tells us that after saying that, speaking about the kindness of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem, it still is not a true, complete translation to the real greatness of Hashem. And the real greatness of Hashem, the same as we cannot understand how Hashem creates the world ex nihilo, we cannot understand the real greatness, Gedula, the real kindness, Chesed of Hashem. These are terms that we use, and it's like the best example for this is comparing the sweetness of the sweetness of an apple or of a candy, whatever it might be, the sweetness of a candy, to the sweetness of a song. You say this tune is a sweet tune. It's not on the same dimension and the same level as the sweetness of a candy.
Music is Me'al HaTeva.
Yeah, to a certain extent, it's Me'al HaTeva. The Rambam speaks about in Shmoina Profim, the 8 chapters. It's beautiful to see there. The different ways that we Koach HaMedameh, Koach HaMitorer. I didn't see something about music. It would be interesting to see where it connected.
Music is created, the world is created in 7 days, 7, stela. Music is written on 8 lines.
Notes.
Notes.
Yeah.
Which is 8 is me'alef.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si.
No, it's because it's the lines.
The lines.
There are 8.
Says באמת שלעתיד לבוא, the כינור of בית המקדש will be a כינור of 8 נימים. Today the כינור has 7. I can even double check it. The כינור has 7 strings, and the כינור לעתיד לבוא is going to be of 8. I want to just see.
It's a violin.
A violin, a כינור. A violin.
It's an app.
What, a kinor?
Yeah.
Kinor is
Okay.
not the nevel. Nevel is the harp.
Okay.
But we could also check about the nevel.
No. Never has many.
Nevel
It's 22 strings.
22. And the kinor?
4.
Oh, just 4. Okay, so that's,
Mandolino.
yeah, it says about, so it could be that was just the Beis Hamikdash
12 string,
that had 7, but otherwise you're right, it's 4.
12 guitar, 12 string guitar. And the strings,
It's 5 guitar.
6.
6.
Yeah, so this is from the Gemara in Masechtas Erchin. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kinar shel Mikdash, the violin of Beis Hamikdash was shel Shivas Nimin Haya. Shenemar Sovas Smachot et Panecha. In the face of Hashem, et Panecha, Sovas Smachot, Sheva Smachot, al tikri Sova ela Sheva. V'shel Yemois HaMashiach, 8. Shenemar lam natseach ala shminit is al nima shminit. And it says shel olam haba 10. Shenemar alei asor v'alei navel alei gaim v'chinor. Okay. Okay, whatever that means. Let's continue, because now we're going to see Midat HaGvura. All of this was an introduction to explain the idea of Midat HaGvura, and I want to ask Ariel to please read for us the fifth paragraph.
The last one. Okay. And just as it is impossible for any creature's mind to apprehend this attribute of the Dula, which is the ability to create a being out of nothing and give it life, as it is written, the world is built by kindness. Exactly so it is not possible for him to apprehend the divine attribute of Gevurah, might, restraint, which is a quality of Simsum, condensation, contraction, and concentration, and restraint of the spreading forth of the life force from its attribute of Gedula, preventing it from descending upon and manifesting itself to the creatures, to give them life and existence in a revealed manner, but rather from its countenance concealed. For the life force conceals itself in the body of the created being, when it appears as though the body of the created being has independent existence and is not merely a spreading forth of the life force and spirituality, as the diffusion of the radiation and light from the sun, but an independent existing entity. Although in reality it has no independent existence, it is only like the diffusion of the light from the sun. Nevertheless, this concealment is the very restraining power of the Holy One, blessed be He, who is omnipotent, to condense the life force and spirituality which issues from the breath of his mouth, and will conceal it, so that the body of the created being shall not become nullified.
Shkoyach. That's a long paragraph, and that summarizes, that's the explanation to the idea of tzimtzum, of contraction. And where does it come from? It comes directly from the highest point possible, from Midas HaGvura of Hashem himself. So the same way we spoke about the chesed, which is to generate life, to give life to whoever it is, pre-mabul, to do whatever you want. Even before that, midat chesed, okay, I cannot say no, like Avraham. 3 people, 3 angels. He didn't know that they were angels. We'll learn about it next parsha. He's in pain. He just did a bris milah, and they come over to him, and he prepares them the best meal. He cannot say no. And that's coming from a good point. It's coming from a powerful point, from Midas HaChesed. So in that same way, Hashem also has Midas HaGvura, which is the power of, sometimes it's known as din, judgment. Sometimes it's not din, judgment, but it's restriction, holding back, saying no. That is Gevura. You deserve it or you don't deserve it. If you don't deserve it, there's no compromising over here. It's not yours. That's it. And Hashem uses this tool. Hashem uses this trait, this quality that he has, in order to say no to the light, and soon we will see how. This is the source. Like they said, there's an expression, they used to use it in the Israeli army. I think the one that first started with it was Sharon. After he moved from the position of a soldier, commander in the army, to a politician, so he came up with the idea that ipuk ze koach. To, how do you say ipuk? Restraint is power. They said you've got they did whatever, suicide bomb, whatever it was. So they said, you've got to fight them. You've got to conquer Gaza again, whatever it was, go back into Lebanon. No. Ipuk ze koach. What's the word again?
Restraint.
Restraint is power. Today we know how that concept and that idea led to the 7th of October and to Hezbollah becoming what it was. But there is one place where ipuk ze koach when we speak about Hashem. When Hashem says, I'm prepared to give you life without revealing that it's me. That is real craft, that is real power. And that's what Hashem did when he created the world. When he created the world, he basically gave life to us, but in a very small amount with the right measures. So to the extent that there are parts of the world that don't even recognize Hashem. Not only they don't even recognize him, but they dissipate and they go against him. And he's the source of life to them as well. How does that happen? How is that possible? That is Gevura. Holding back. You don't have to be out there. Chesed is like Netzach. And it seems very counterintuitive. Chesed is Netzach. Chesed is kindness. Netzach is to win wars. How are you a kind person if you win wars? So the explanation of Chesed is that you are out there. You're going for your goal. So the general idea is to give, to share, to be kind. And then if there's an obstacle against that, it's like Avram fighting for Yishmael. He tells Hashem, I want Yishmael. Lu Yishmael yechiyah lefanecha. I don't need Yitzchak. I don't need another son. I want Yishmael. I'm happy with Yishmael. Hashem gives him Yitzchak. And Yitzchak is Gevura. Gevura means that there's a place to stop. There's a place where we end. We do not continue ad hasof, as they say. Let's continue inside. This is the idea. I think we are in brackets over here, the last paragraph. But let's read the brackets. I want to ask Mayor, please, to read for us.
And it is not within the scope of the intellect of any creature to comprehend the essential nature of the tzimtzum and concealment of the life force, in that nevertheless the body of the creature be created ex nihilo, just as it is not within the capacity of any creature's intellect to comprehend the essential nature of the creation of being out of nothing. The tzimtzum in concealment of the life force is called kelim, vessels.
Vessel.
And the life force itself is called light. For just as a vessel covers that which is within it, so does a tzimtzum cover and conceal the light. Mitzvah.
Those are like a few letters. Mantzapaf.
Okay, which are the 5 restraining forces that divide and separate the breath and voice in the 5 organs, light from dark. Easier. Bosnia Dita, light from dark, which is the supernatural, supernal, Gevurah of Atik Yomim, ancient days. And the source of kindness is also Chesed Atik Yomim, as it is known to those well versed in stoic wisdom.
Shkoyach. So a lot of these are Kabbalah, deep concepts in Kabbalah. We're not going to go into it. I would just want to share 2 ideas. One is Orot and one is Kelim. You see it often, so it's kedai to know these. What is the meaning of Orot and Kelim? The light and the vessel. The light is usually compared to Chesed, light. Light, you cannot stop light. Right? Fire, whatever it is. It spreads. That's its nature. In order to stop it, you use kelim. You use a vessel. You would use, they have these, what are they called? Chandeliers, or, forgot the word for it, but it's like, it covers the light. Because you don't want the light to be too strong. Shades, thank you. So that is Gevurah. Doesn't come from the same point. It's 2 different arms that Hashem uses. The arm of Chesed, light, the arm of Gevurah, vessels, Kelim, as known in Kabbalah.
What about Norah?
Sorry?
What about Norah?
The meaning of Norah?
Yes,
Almighty.
Gadol, Agibor,
Nachon.
Norah.
Yeah, you've got to see what exactly the meaning there is of Hanorah.
Maybe,
Which midah is?
maybe it's
Rachamim. Sorry?
Is it awesomeness?
Could also translate it to awesomeness. Almighty, sometimes Almighty. But I would say it's one between, sometimes it's referred as Almighty, sometimes awesomeness.
What about contradiction?
Why is it a contradiction?
Norah Lila.
That's going into the motive behind it. Yeah, it's just technically how it works. What does Hashem use to create the world? It's more technical.
Norah Lila is also a mean.
That's the cause. That's like what's behind it. What?
No. If Hashem wanted Adam to eat Etz Hadat, this is Norah Lila.
Nachon.
So this was a mean.
Yeah.
A secret mean.
Nachon.
Okay. This is a contradiction to what appears to be a law. Not to eat from it.
So yeah, it's more connected to the way that Hashem runs the world behind the scenes.
Exactly. And what
And
is doing
for us,
behind the scene
as a big effect.
is a contradiction what that
What he
appears
says.
to us to be
Yeah.
the rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
That's why we never speak about the Norah.
Nachon.
Norah is always,
You're connecting Norah to Norah Lila.
yeah.
I see.
Why do we say El, Akel, Agadol, Agibor, Ve'anorah? It's not awesome. It's much more difficult.
Perhaps, yeah, there's several levels. Okay. We have to do a full shiur just on that idea of Norah Lila. And what we see over here, this is, I think, what we could go with today. This is the message that Hashem uses another hand, another arm in order to create the worlds, but from a perspective of restraint, where Hashem does not show and reveal himself entirely. And that's why you can go out to the street. First of all, personally, you don't always feel Hashem. So that's why the street doesn't feel Hashem too. So the Alter Rebbe started off this chapter saying that yes, Be'ezrat Hashem, la'atid lavo, we will see the hand of Hashem. And in the next chapter, we'll speak about the parable that you brought, and then it has to do with tzaddikim, and it has to do with miracles as well. Yeshar Koach.